live. The thing, it doesn't like it if there's a pause. I think we're good.
Yeah. Okay. So, good evening, members. Welcome to this evening's meeting of Finance and General Purposes Committee on Wednesday, the 18th of February. So, I'm opening the meeting as I've chaired the two previous meetings. But once we've discussed the minutes of the previous meeting, I'll pass across to Councillor Breen to take over as chair, unless anybody wants to object, apart from Councillor Breen, of course. Is that right? Good, okay. So first of all, Town Clerk, do we have apologies for any absences this evening?
We do. We have apologies from Councillor Marie, who has work on it.
He has. Thank you very much. And I think I might have just said, and nobody picked me up on it, I might have said the 18th of February, because tonight, of course, is the 11th of March. Another month has gone. Okay, so the next thing is declarations of interest.
And the relationships of these three states.
To receive any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interest from members in respect of business to be transacted on the agenda this evening. Do we have any?
No.
No? Thank you very much. And then thirdly, agenda item 3 is the minutes of the last meeting of the committee. Could I ask whether anybody's got any comments on those they'd like to make? And if not, I'd like to move to a vote.
Happy to propose.
Councillor Pennington's proposed, Councillor Carter P has seconded. We vote on those. All green. Thank you very much. We'll just sign these and then Councillor Green can take over.
Okay, well, while we're signing them, may I ask the clerk, is there anybody who's expressed an interest in public participation? No.
That's done.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Truca. Thanks for standing in for me over the last couple of months when I've not been available. Move on to agenda item 5, which is the payment schedules and the finance reports. And first up, 5A is to receive and approve the Sandwich Town Council payment schedule at the end of February. Does anybody have any comments or observations that they would like to make on this?
Not particularly. I'm just going to mention there is a big payment in there for the, not Cluse, but obviously should be Sluicegate. And I just want to say that I popped in to see the finance officer at the start of this week to just review a number of the invoices, and it included this. And this went through Monk's Wall Nature Reserve Committee. So just to assure you that the approvals were there, but also I saw the invoice. I also selected a few other invoices that will appear in here as well, because I did the online authorisation via Bankline.
Okay, thank you. Any others with any comments? I've got a couple of comments I was hoping to raise with the RFO, but he wasn't available today. Specifically, if you look, there are 3 payments which are exactly the same for Amazon. The heavy duty signage stand, there's 2 at £33.25, there's 2 at £37.92, and there's 2 at £60.60. I always find that where there are duplicate payments, you just need to be careful that we haven't paid twice.
Yeah.
I've messaged the RFO and I'm going to meet with him either tomorrow or on Monday. And so I'll clarify those, and I'll come back to the main council or to this meeting in the future if there are any issues. But other than that, once I've actually been through all of these, I'll normally sign this, so I'll sign it then if that's okay, Town Clerk. Okay, so that's 5A.
I'm happy to propose are you going to vote now or on block at the end?
I was going to vote and block at the end.
That's fine.
To receive the bank account reconciliation statement for January Again, any comments from anybody around? Again, when I see the town, the RFO, you can see that there are a number of things which just say the Maddox grant. Again, in future when the description comes out, it would be useful to see who the actual payee is. So with your agreement, I will sign that once I've, that bank reconciliation statement once I've seen it. 5C is the cash book statement. Again, has anybody got any comments on this? Okay, well, I'm just, again, I'll sign it off when I've been through it with the RFO, but I'll just draw your attention to the main account. The opening number, in the main account we have £509,000. I just want to draw your attention to that number. Okay, so that's, and then 5D
Sorry,
is,
Chair. If just on the procedure, if we need to vote on all these, shouldn't we leave the first item separately and vote on the rest, or how do you propose to do it?
well, I think my proposal is that because there's no comments or objections to it, that provided when I've been through it with a fine-tooth comb with the RFO, if you give your advance approval to it, because at the moment there are no objections, if I've got any concerns and I'm not happy to sign it, I'll bring them back. Okay. And then the final one is to receive the budget variance report. Again, is there any comments on 5D?
Well, I'm a bit puzzled about these huge movements of Maddox funds. I'm sure there's a simple explanation, but I'd like to hear it. Item 500 under income.
Yeah, well, can I say that this is from the 1st of April, and it, obviously in this period, 1st of April 25,
Right.
up until the 31st of January 26, and obviously within that period we've had the receipts from the sale of the property, and we've also had funds from the executors. So that's how that's why that figure is so large.
And then under expenditure 1550. Again, I didn't understand these enormous movements.
Yeah, that's exactly, and as I understand it, the balance of 18,911 is the amount that the town council is currently holding following the payments of the grants, following the payments of invoices for professional support, plus all of the monies that have been sent to Harris Allday, the investment consultant.
So,
I still don't understand it, but I suspect I'm being rather stupid. But,
I don't think so. So in effect, we received an amount of income streams over the 10 months or so, and those have been generally gone into the actual investment fund for Maddox, but they obviously have come into the council, so that's why they're showing on the schedules that we hold. So there's been a lot of activity this year in terms of the Maddox movements. One, of course, is the property selling, which was a significant amount, 650 there or thereabouts. And then, as Councillor Green mentioned, there have been investments that have come in from elsewhere that have moved into our investment portfolio that we now hold with Harris Allday. So I think this is just a global view of all the movements within the fund over the 10 months or so of the year.
Exactly.
but the fund itself is considerably larger than.
The fund itself
Yes.
is some £3.2 million.
Yes.
Pounds.
But that won't show in
I
this.
couldn't see how this these figures of over £1 million, how they related to that aggregate figure for the whole fund.
Yeah. Well, that's simply because, as Councillor Chuka said, these are the movements. This is the money that's flowed through the town council in respect of Maddox over that 10-month period.
So that would be the sale of the property.
Yeah.
And other bits of the portfolio that came in late, is that what?
Well, yes, there was
Yeah.
a huge amount of money came in from the executors,
Right.
and we virtually settled that they're only holding a small amount of money left. So that's where the rest of the money over and above the property. So over £500,000 has come in from the executors.
And the 18,911
That's what we hold.
is what we're holding.
Yeah.
Currently, it's the balance after all the grants have been made. So depending on the number of applicants for the second round, the March grants, it's possible that we may have to draw down from the investments in order to fund further, because we've only got 18 grand in cash basically.
Yes, and we're offering
And-
70,000.
Yes, exactly. So
Yes.
we had 70, no, I can't remember, I don't know the exact numbers, so I don't want to say what's wrong, I don't want to say something that's wrong, but we had a sum, we dispersed another sum, we're left with 18, which may or may not be sufficient for the second interim round.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yes, it does.
And what will happen in the future is once a charity is successfully set up, there won't be monies held within the council, or there shouldn't be. I can't see any reasons why we would. It'll all be within that particular environment that monies will move.
Okay, are you happy now, Councillor Anderson? Okay, so any other comments on the 5D, the variance report? Okay, well then, can I propose that, as I said, I'll go through this with a fine-tooth comb with the RFO, but subject to me not finding any problems. Are you all happy to?
Second.
Thank you very much. Okay, so that's everybody in approval.
Thank you to Councillor Breen for his hard work.
It's very useful to have this written budget variance summary right at the end from the RFO. I'll comment on it as well in the STBF part, but it's extremely helpful that we have this report, because otherwise you're busy chasing up, well, why is this, why is that, and particularly because some of the income streams for the tolerance fund.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah, that there are other things that kind of I'm keen to kind of understand, because Councillor Anderson rightly kind of flagged up kind of her concerns about the Maddox, to understand that. But if you look at the one below that, which is 1,600, the Guildhall costs, you can see there's a huge variance there of £152,000, which out of an initial £12,000 is not something you would normally expect in the budget. And I think it's important as we go forward that the budget is aligned to the way we are going to procure and expend the monies, because that allows us to have greater control over it and actually see when we're deviating or varying from.
Yeah, I mean, this year's been a particular problem, but.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. The next item is the priorities in terms of, yes we did, in terms of reference status and the action log. So we've received the action log. Is there any comments from anybody? Councillor Carter?
Yeah, an action log is usually a temporary log for actions that should be undertaken in a short or set period of time. But I noticed from this log, the first 3 items do not have any target date, they're just ongoing. So they're what's termed in the commercial world as BAU, which doesn't really constitute items for an action log. So
They are historical from my predecessor. I didn't
yeah,
want to move them without.
I'm not looking at you for that, really. I'm looking at Councillor Breen. So my proposal would be I mean, these items are items that should be a part of our terms of reference.
Yeah, they are, that's what the TOR stands for.
So, so really, I don't believe that they should continue to be on an action log, because they're never going to be achieved. They're ongoing.
I understand your comment, and thanks for that. From my point of view, the things that are here are things that we need to constantly be focused on, because the first ones really relate to health and safety. They relate to us being compliant, and we've all seen instances where what's happened is the incident happened because the processes or whatever weren't followed. And so that's why they're here, to remind us that we need to do something about these things. And the property manager has been really good in assembling all of the compliance evidence to evidence that this building is properly insured, that the electrics are right, the gas is right, and and the lift is right. But all of these things are constantly changing. Ultimately, we as the Finance and General Purposes Committee are responsible, so we should keep a close eye on it. And this is why they're on this action log, to keep us focused. It's not a procedure, and I understand, but you know, we are the committee that is responsible for these items. Councillor Chu.
And I was going to say, whilst there might be suggested that there be BAU, actually the reality is they weren't, because they were not being managed as BAU, and the whole point is, through this committee, we have sensibly surfaced a number of areas of inactivity, and quite rightly we're tracking them. So the third one I'm particularly interested in, because it relates to the local government reorganisation, and it's important for us as a group to understand what progress is happening, particularly around the sandwich agreement, around the Guildhall, etc. And that's certainly not BAU activity. And I'm on point with the town clerk to make sure that we feed in any progress into this meeting, and the way of doing that is through the action log at the moment. And we did have a discussion about 4 months ago where we surfaced about local government reorganisation. That's fallen out of that.
Yeah. Okay, Councillor Anderson.
Yes, I just want to make a comment. I think we should be very careful about using acronyms which are not generally understood. I don't understand what BAU stands for, and I'm sure that there are huge numbers of people watching the streaming who have no idea what BAU stands for, so I would be very grateful for an indication as to what it stands for.
Business as usual.
Oh, no. Okay. Thank you.
It's a sin of working in projects.
Okay, Councillor
So
Clark.
could I just come back briefly? So how are these actions, these ongoing actions, how are they going to be measured? Because they need to be measured in some, because you can't have an action if it can't be measured, because you need to be able to have some form of either resource or some form of target that you're working towards. So because these are generalistic, you don't have any measure. So we could, what I'm trying to say is, from a project point of view, we could go on and on and on and say, well, there's still a little bit more to do.
Yeah.
So we'll never achieve it.
Right, well, if we go through the actions, the first one about the physical assets of STC, it's just moved on in terms of Julian has now got the documents. The action there is for me to do an audit to check all of those documents. So that's the action on the first one. The second one is the training of new staff, and the action there is with the town clerk. You know, so again, it can be measurable. This is the new member of staff. These are the training courses that the new member of staff has been through. So, you know, I do feel that these are measurable, and yes, you know, I've not been around for a couple of months now, but you know, this is something that's in my close to the centre of my radar at the moment, and I can assure you for next month, the notes will have changed on these first
Right,
royalties.
thank you very much for that explanation.
Okay. Is there anything further you want to say about the local government reorganisation, Councillor Chuka, at this stage?
No, because we're still waiting for that response from David Parish. So I think in terms of having it here this evening, it prompts me to follow up, because he did indicate it would take a while for him to respond, and it's taken a while for him to respond.
Yeah.
So I think he has to be chased.
Okay, thank you.
Are you going to chase him, Councillor?
I'll do it. Enjoy your holiday instead.
What's his name? Can you remember?
David Parish, 1R.
And
Two.
what is he being asked about?
So we had a meeting with David Parish, who heads assets within DDC, and it was an opening discussion around the future of the Sandwich Agreement, the Guildhall which sits within that, the plot of land across the road, no main street, and what's the referred
And
to?
there were two, well, what happened to the other properties, and what
Oh, yes.
also the situation is with regard to
Two pockets.
2 Market Street.
Yeah.
So it did cover a whole range of
Did
issues.
it include the Jubilee Centre?
No, no, it was very much linked into the Sandwich Agreement, and where the meeting ended was that they would go away and put in writing. So they gave us a proposal across the table, and we asked them to put that into writing, so then we can explore it further with them.
Okay,
The
Councillor
sandwich agreement originally included lots of properties,
Yeah.
most of which have
For
gone.
Yeah.
So,
So it's only the Guildhall,
Market Street,
Market Street
and St Peter's
and St
plot.
Peter's
St Peter's and
yeah,
Cinema.
that are left.
No, cinema is owned by David.
no, I think the sandwich,
Oh, sorry.
the sandwich
Yes.
agreement was not particularly
No,
accurate
no.
as to whether it was STC or STBF. And it took a long time to get, something like 9 or 10 years to get signed between
It did.
local government organisation and when it was finally signed, and there were an awful lot of gaps. And I'm not sure at the time they had the documentation either. So I think they made the best of a very difficult job. But we are where we are with it.
Okay, so the last 2 actions are due in April and May of this year, so if there are no further comments, I propose that we accept
Yeah.
this report.
Have to send them back.
Thank you very much. And again, are we all in favour?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everybody. Right, we now move on to agenda item 7, a bank authority report.
I'm afraid I realised this evening, John and I realised this evening as I came to it, this report was not included in the papers. So the proposals we can't agree about because we haven't included it in the papers. But I can read you what John wanted to say to you, so if that would help, just to give you a bit of information.
I managed to download it over the weekend.
He
You have it?
sent them out.
He
He
did.
sent an email.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I've got
No,
it.
it's not
Yeah.
on the website, that's the
But it's
problem.
not on the website.
No.
Ah,
No.
Okay,
It's not
I
on
think,
the website.
yes, that's
Okay.
the problem. So we
my
can't,
apologies.
we can't do the thingies
No.
on it, but basically, I mean, it's a matter of interest that, basically we really need to update the mandates, we need to have a thorough review of all the mandates, we need to get John on the mandates, and I think at May we need to review which councillors are authorised to do Bank 9, because some of them are authorised but can't get on, and some, so the pool of councillors available to do Bank 9 is shrinking, and we need to have a thorough go at that in the new year. Is really the summation, but we can't actually do anything or decide anything with the lack of publication. Apologies for that.
Okay, thank you, Town Clerk.
Propose we defer that, Mr. Chairman.
Happy? Happy to defer even though we haven't got the paper? If that's appropriate to defer it?
Yeah, I'm sorry,
Okay, so defer the agenda item.
but that's what it was about, just so you know.
But we certainly got the next report, the allotment update. And very pleased to see you've taken on more responsibility for the allotment.
I like them.
That's what it says, the clerk has taken on responsibility for the allotments. Does anybody have any comments on this, Councillor Wiles?
Yeah, I'm a plot holder at Black Lane, and I was very pleased with this report because I've been up there a few times recently, and there has been a discernible improvement in the site. More of the plots are being worked on. There's activity, which is good to see. So yeah, I'm pleased with it. I was asked to chair the meeting on the 20th, but I can't make that, I'm afraid. And I felt there might be a conflict of interest there anyway if I was both a plot holder and a councillor. So I think the town clerk's looking for someone independent to step up for that.
Okay. So on that, is there anybody who would volunteer to do that?
Anybody like gardening? Ooh, the silence.
It's during the daytime, isn't it?
So,
No, 7 o'clock,
Oh, is it?
yeah,
Which day was that?
20th of May. I think it's more of a question and answer session,
We're on
really.
annual leave then, I'm sorry.
It's a question and answer
okay,
session.
well if nobody else comes forward, I'll.
Oh, thank you, Councillor.
I am intending, subject to diary, to attend, but I would be happy to prefer somebody else chairs.
Okay.
I want to
Well, I've
attend.
made my offer.
Thank
Let's
you
move,
very much.
move on through the rest of
Yeah.
the report. Does anybody else have any comments on the report? Or require any clarifications or anything? Okay.
Sorry, Chair, my only comment might be that when I had an allotment in Cambridge, we had a system where people were given a small, perhaps a quarter or a half a plot to start with, to see how they go, maybe like a probationary step, and then give them more if they perform. My experience is that people often take on things and then just can't, they don't realise what they've taken on, and they give up, or they
Councillor Wiles,
move away.
from having sort of done it for the last 3 months, I would say that I think that's something to aspire to. I don't think we're there yet. I think we just need to get them full, and we need to get the waiting list sufficiently fresh and sort of enough people on it and enough. Because I've kind of pretty much drained down the waiting list by filling up everything. So
Okay,
I think one of the
because that was
examples-
one of the clarifications I wanted to know. How many people were on the waiting list?
well, in theory there are 30, but when I sent out emails saying, would you like a plot? Not very many came back.
Right.
So I haven't taken them off, but I'll give them another go. And if they haven't replied the second time round, I'll take them off. But we're heading down towards the last 5 or 6, and they're the most recent additions.
Yes.
So actually, the lower down the list I've got, the more responsive my requests for would you like an allotment have been, because they've requested an allotment more recently.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's sort of I think I've discovered allotments is an art, not a science.
Yeah. Okay, so that was one thing I wanted to understand, the kind of the demand, and my other comment on the report, it's always useful to try and understand, as it is the finance committee, the overall numbers, in terms of the revenue and the cost and so forth, but maybe we should pick that up.
Well, I mean, I can give you, we've got 7, Black Lane, we've got 40 odd plots at £70 per plot, and Sandown Lane, we've got 8 plots at £80. And everyone's paid their rent, so there's a couple of vacancies, but everyone that's there, everyone's paid, so yeah.
Thank you. Well, that's really good, and it's great that you answered the question.
It's not perfect.
Well, no, but that's really helpful just to understand how much the plot costs, and they're all paid up.
Allotments are not profit centres, they are by law, they cannot be, so the cost is made up of their water fees, kind of So there's a skip that goes to Black Lane, there's a Sandown Lane has had a hat stand pipe put in. So there are various costs they have incurred on the site, which are then passed on, split and passed on. And then there's a very small administration fee for the time, which is, it's rounded up really. So it's, I think it's approximately £15, but give or take, because nobody wants to pay a bill for £32.74. So, you know, or £34.23. So that 34's been rounded up to 35, 31's been rounded down to 30. You know, I'm not giving you accurate numbers, but I'm giving you an impression of how it's been done.
Understanding, yeah. Okay.
Chair, I think one of the things we should look at is promotion of the sites and stress the benefits, the well-being, the fitness, etc. And one of the big benefits of Black Lane, in my view, is we get free horse muck and free chippings.
I think it's a good thing. I think hopefully we'll have it all full for this year. I think it's a job for the autumn really, to promote it, so that because when the new invoices come out in December, we then know who's going to pay, who doesn't want to renew. We then got really December through to January to, December through to March. This period of time is when we want to get the plots full again, so that when the growing season hits, they're fully ready to go.
Yes, thank you. I know absolutely nothing about allotments, but it did strike me that it seemed a little unfair for someone starting a new plot that had been neglected for some considerable time to have to remove all the brambles and so on. I did just wonder if there's a system that could be introduced to alleviate that problem.
So one thing that I'm going to talk to the allotment holders at the allotment meeting on the 20th of May is our current terms and conditions are not the same as the National Allotment Society's standard, their pro forma contract, basically. So, and there are certain items that I want to include in sort of, for example, the sample one has no illegal or immoral activities, so that's probably quite a good one to put on an allotment. You don't want to have people sort of having too many parties on the allotment. So, so I think that the contract or the terms and conditions need to be refreshed. I'm going to talk to them about it in May to be put in place for December, basically. So, that can be addressed at that point.
And I think part of the proposal here to get plot D into shape and spend £250 is really in line with what you're suggesting.
What we can do, sorry, I forgot my train of thought. For new allotment holders going forward, part of this new contracting, I don't think it would be fair to do people who are on the site already. A lot of councils ask for a deposit, so a £200 deposit for the allotment. When they get the allotment, that the council can hold, and then if they leave and don't maintain it, we then have a little bit of money in the bank to sort it out.
Seems reasonable. Thank you.
But we'll have to talk to the allotment holders in May. They might have different thoughts on that.
Chair, could I also mention, sorry, one last thing. I think allotments should be not just about growing, but they are like a community space. So where people are interacting with each other, chatting, maybe helping each other, that's one of the great benefits of an allotment. So if we can encourage any community activities, maybe people helping others with their plot or having an annual barbecue or anything like this, then that's worth thinking about.
Okay, so because this comes up on the agenda later to make part of the allotment a community space, is that what you're proposing?
No, the whole allotment should be seen as a community space. So it's not just, you don't have blinkers on, you should be interacting with other people when you're there and looking out for each other.
I think that the rep at Blackdown Lane and I were talking about maybe having it would have to be late summer, I would have thought, produce. So have a prize prize,
Yeah.
competition, something like that.
Maybe tie up with Sandwich and
Yeah.
Dormer there.
And then around.
Something like that, I don't know, and get somebody, if anybody knows garden science, to come in and, judge and award a large trowel or something, I don't know. Anyway, it was just ideas, but I think that's all for May, for the meeting.
All right then, shall we are we happy to address the recommendations of the report? Councillors are invited to receive the report. Everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a green tick. Councillors are invited to approve the groundworks at plot D from budget line for £250. So this is to get it into shape. That's proposed and passed by everybody.
Sorry, who's going to propose it?
I proposed it.
Councillor Schuster and Carter.
Councillors are invited to approve the hedge works at plot C for £100.
I don't know how much they are. I said to him, would you be prepared to do it at the same time? And he said, you're sure, but I haven't got it a price. I think £100 is more than adequate.
So you
That's
said
an
that's
outside
to a
I was
value.
going to say it's quite cheap actually, so.
Well, if
From
you
the
had,
day rate
it's an
labour.
extremely good price that he's given us to get that lot into shape. I had a figure in my head. I don't want to say it on camera, but yeah,
I'm happy
it's
to
really, really good.
propose that.
Sorry, Chair, I just realised I should have declared an interest on this, so
Yes,
can you excise my votes and say that I'm
Yeah.
not voting?
Rewrite history. For a Soviet bloc.
Okay. So for this, up value up to £100, so we're happy to vote on that. Everybody's going green again, except for Councillor Wiles. And then the final recommendation, councillors are invited to consider the future of plot D, assuming the tenant doesn't return to it to cultivation. We can re-let it. The options are to re-let it as one plot, to re-let it as two plots, or to use it as community space. Any proposals?
My proposal would be what Councillor Wiles said. I think it'd be better to have a couple of smaller plots rather than one large plot.
So re-let it as two.
And really let it as two. And I think the community space idea is, once again, as Councillor Wiles has said, I've got knowledge of the church allotments, so I bring that knowledge here, that usually the community atmosphere is a general matter for the whole area. There's no particularly designated area in allotments for something like that. So because people come to the allotments when they have time. So if somebody's a shift worker, they might be there in the day, and then somebody like myself would be there from after 5 PM. So I think the community idea is exactly what Councillor Wiles said, that people would come together as and when they're able to oversee things. So I would like to propose item 2, realised.
Okay.
So on the basis we've got 3 proposals, none of which are backed up with any detail. We've got an allotments meeting in May. I would ask that we defer it to discuss it, to then at least get the views in terms of, so a communal space will take an amount of effort, there's no detail of what that entails and the cost. So I don't think we can legitimately vote in or out any of the proposals in front of us, even if we don't take it to the allotments meeting. So if we talk about community space, shape, form, cost, none of that's included.
I don't think it's a very concrete idea at this point. I would, in terms of like spending money on clearing an area and then not cultivating it, that's a really bad idea. Something needs to happen with it quickly, because we're going to spend £250, and if we don't then get people on it either to do something or other, then it will just have the weeds back again.
But it could be the wrong choice. We've got 3 choices, none of which are backed up with any great detail.
Councillor Anderson.
Yeah, I was just going to say that communal space demands care, and that is somewhat unpredictable. And I understand there's no allotment society, and they don't actually have a structure, and I think it probably would be up to the council to maintain that community space rather than the allotment holders, whom I suspect won't do it. Or only one person won't do it, then that person will fall by the wayside.
Okay, well, sorry, Councillor Pennington.
Yes, sir. Yes, I'd like to support what Councillor Chuka said. It's not clear to me what exactly the community space would be there for. B, as has been mentioned, who would maintain it. It's not clear to me if it would be only for allotment holders or it would be an open space and a community space in that sense. I mean, I don't feel ready to take a view on it.
I don't think it's a very big thought. If council thinks that 1 or 2 plots is the best way forward, let's do that. I don't think anyone will be stressed. I don't think there's a huge push for
Yeah,
this.
we had recommendations from Councillor Wiles on what they do in Cambridge, didn't they? So that sounds quite sensible to me.
Yeah. Well, just kind of listening to all of the views, you know, we're asked to make a decision. I am concerned that if we have a community area, it's going to come back to us for additional funding and so forth in the future. I'm taken by what Councillor Wiles said about people starting on smaller plots, and you know, we're here to let these plots out. We've got a waiting list, and I'm inclined to agree with Councillor Carter that we should, you know, proceed and let it as 2 plots. If we're spending money to get it cleared, let's let it as 2 plots and use it. I think allotment holders, you know, tend to chat with other people and they form their own community and they share their equipment, they share their seeds, they share their produce, and they go down the pub afterwards.
So could I ask then, what is the footprint of the plot that's there? Are they all standard size? So we're making a decision on something. So if you're going to split it in half, what does that mean in terms of space? Is it sufficient? I mean, Council Wiles might have knowledge of these, because we can't make an abstract decision about a space that we don't even know the measurements of. So Council Wiles might be able to help.
Which plot is it? Town plot?
It's the really, really brambly. It's sort of Sleeping Beauty's castle as you come in, just so where the muck is.
Yeah.
Beyond that, is that plot there.
Okay. Yeah, it's
big.
Yeah, big one.
Is it big?
I mean, my recommendation would be let it as 2,
Okay.
and the issue of the community space, because they both need to be let. You can't, once next month comes, it will be 3 foot in weeds. So, and any discussion about the community space, take to the main meeting and talk to
What
them.
I am going to try and do, Councillor Wells, is to work with gently, is that the muck, I'm going to try and get moved behind the, so when you walk in, the muck is behind the gate, if you see what I mean.
Right.
So you come in and there's the gate, and then the muck's right in front of you, but actually there's a whole bit on the right hand side, which is behind the gate, which is just dead space.
Yeah.
So what we could do, rather than walking in and see the muck, is get that muck behind the gate, and then we'll just, that bit where muck is can just be grass, and that's community space.
The
Really.
grass will be 6 foot tall within 6
Well,
months, because it's had years of horse muck.
but
It's fine.
there's a person that mows the grass at the moment.
Dave knows it, yeah.
Yeah, and so he, I mean, it's like 6 or more.
I think he does that at his own expense, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's very generous.
He's really diligent.
Okay, can we move on? You know, the clerk has taken on responsibility for the allotments. I think we've got every confidence in her that we divide the existing plots up in a reasonable manner without bringing it back to 43 foot by 22 type of thing. So I propose that we go with Councillor Carter's proposal to let it as 2 allotments. So I'm happy to second or propose that. Okay, so there's 1 abstention, but those members who voted, and of course Councillor Wiles didn't participate in the vote. Thank you for that. That was an interesting talk. we'll move on now to the insurance renewal, and we've had a quote amounting to £26,000 in total, and this amount of the premium is in excess of £25,000. It's a renewal under a contract for multiple years, and therefore already has been authorised in principle, subject to inflationary rises and further risks. Are there any comments on this?
I think as it's part of the contract, we're duty bound to accept it, aren't we? Yeah.
It's 2.6%.
Yeah. So
Yes.
I'd like to propose we note it and accept it
Yeah.
and settle it.
And settle it. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I would like just to check on with the RFO the inspection contract, because I'm very mindful that insurance, they're great when you're renewing it, but what they do is they appoint loss adjusters or outside companies to make sure that any claims, every condition of the insurance is complied with. You know, so I am going to take that on as part of the review of the assets, because not only do we need to comply with statutory requirements, we need to comply with insurance requirements. So,
Can I tell you what the insurance that is? The insurance.
by all means.
The inspection contract is in order to ensure that we can get insurance and that everything's good. We have the lift inspected quarterly, the fire things to come like smoke up them to make sure
Yeah,
that
the
they're
fire
okay,
alarms.
and that is part of this contract to ensure that everything's in good working order.
Right. Okay, thank you for that. So are we all happy to accept the report? Is accepted and it can be settled in April. Councillor Wiles, are you in on this?
Oh yeah, it's a good deal.
Okay, so everybody.
And Mr. Chairman, I was just going to say, can we, because this is the last year of the contract, so could we perhaps flag up somewhere that, you know, we will need to, before the date comes up in future, we need several months or a quarter to perhaps look into the renewal of the contract.
Okay, good point.
This sounds like an action log item.
It does indeed. Well done,
But
Councillor.
actually, I think, and I think it's hidden in the detail if you actually read reports carefully. It isn't a renewal exercise. I've got an issue in the sense that we may have assets here that aren't logged or are logged but don't exist. It would be interesting to know from Town Park when the last time an actual review of assets was done, because I think there's a significant, my guess, knowing the history of this building and previous administrations, I think there's a hint here that we may have a significant piece of work as a project as opposed to getting new quotes.
Yeah, can I say that's exactly where I'm at in terms of looking over the conditions of the insurance, because I'm conscious that we've bought new items for the museum and so forth, and we've adopted some compass or something down on the quay, and are all of these things included in the insurance? We need to make sure, and that's having a proper asset register, or else the insurance company will invalidate any claim.
So over the last couple of weeks, the RFO and I have had meetings with the two brokers, firstly for the main insurance Zurich policy and then also with the fine art policy. I think it's fair to say that both brokers pointed out to us that certainly fine art has not been revalued for a very long time, 2017, and that the STC asset register is very, I mean, the asset registers are need looking at, basically. However, this is not necessarily some of it is easy to do. It's going around with a clipboard and writing down. We've got, you know, a big telly, which I haven't seen anywhere, things like that. So, so there's a list of writing down what we've got. That's the easy bit, but then the difficult and the expensive bit is the fine art, because, for example, the regalia hasn't been done since 2017, and it will cost 1% of the value to revalue it, and that will probably be £2,000, £2,500. So that's a significant chunk. And if that's just that asset, we've got 1.35 million, well, 1 million of that is Magna Carta, but £350,000 worth of fine art currently listed. But it doesn't include all sorts of bits and bobs that I see around that may or may not be valuable. It may be that they're not listed because they are not valuable, but I don't know that.
So there's a major item of work to be done in advance of 3 months before we need to go out for quotations. So thank you very much, Clark. You sound as though you're very much on top of that.
I'm not.
No, the fact that you've been having meetings and discussing it, and you've familiarised yourself with the asset register, and you've got a feel for the value of some of these assets.
We are where we are with this
really
for this
encouraging.
year, but what we're looking at is for the financial year 27-28 to be in a much better position.
Yeah, and also flagging up that we need budgetary provision to pay for the valuation of these.
Yeah.
Well, that was the point I was going to make, that we're going to have to be pretty tough-minded about the budget, and especially this is STC, but when it comes to STBF, if the situation is that the museum assets were not revalued for a long time, that could knock a blooming great hole in it, and be prepared for that having knock-on effects on the money that STBF gives STC. We need to be very clear about that.
Yeah, understand?
Maybe, yeah, it might be the budget for 27-28.
Yes, it will.
So, I don't know quite,
New administration.
Okay, so I think we've all agreed that this insurance can be accepted and settled on the 1st of April. So that is the last item, other than to say that the next meeting is on the 15th of April at 6:30 here. And if there's no other comments, can we close the meeting? Thank you.